The gut microbiome impacts almost every aspect of your health and well being. And diet is the number one influencer that can change your gut microbiome. So, today I will discuss how you can optimize the gut microbiome by using your diet and lifestyle factors. I'm Dr. Mindy Patterson, the CEO and founder of Renutrin and an associate professor of nutrition. So today we will discuss what is the gut microbiome and what role does it play in our overall health? Is there truly a good or a bad microbiome? And how would we know? And I want to introduce on this first slide three terms. One, short chain fatty acids. These are beneficial to us. Lipopolysaccharide or LPS, this is not beneficial for us. And TMAO or trimethylamine oxide, that's also not good for us. So we'll talk about how diet changes short chain fatty acids, LPS, and TMAO, and how those can contribute to chronic diseases or prevent chronic diseases. We'll also discuss specific dietary patterns or foods that promote either a good or a bad microbiome, comparing animal foods versus plant-based foods, fiber, fermentable foods, as well as prebiotics, which prebiotics are a type of fiber, but not all fibers are prebiotics. We'll discuss other lifestyle factors and practical applications that you can use today to improve your gut microbiome. What is the gut microbiome and how does it impact our health? Well, the microbiome is consistent of 30 trillion microorganisms, actually more than 30 trillion, and it's comprised of bacteria, viruses, and yeast. If you look at the figure, the GI tract starts in the mouth and goes all the way down to the anus, and you can see that each part of the GI tract consists of a different microbiome makeup. So we have what's called the oral microbiome. We have a microbiome that lives in our small intestine as well as the large intestine. Today we will be focusing on the microbiome that lives primarily in the large intestine, which comprises the most microorganisms. It accounts for about 1 to 3% of our total body weight, and it's involved in numerous metabolic pathways, and they produce different compounds called metabolites that are involved in digestion. It helps to break down these nutrients and even make new nutrients like vitamins and amino acids. And it allows proper function of the immune system as well as the nervous system. So this figure shows what is involved in making up our microbiome. So there are many factors that are included. If we look at this figure, we have our gut, right? And so the composition of our microbiome, followed by the enzymes that they make and the metabolites that they produce, are all influenced by things like geographic location, smoking, medication use, exercise, stress, sleep patterns, sex, immune system, age, the mode of delivery, host genetics. Diet is the number one modulator of the microbiome. We know that the microbiome is dynamic. It changes throughout life and it changes with different health statuses that we may encounter during our life. We receive a relatively stable microbiome around adolescence and into adulthood, and breastfeeding seems to be the number one factor to have a long-term effect on the individual's microbiome and its impact on immune system and the GI tract. So breastfeeding is absolutely a game changer. So let's talk about what a healthy gut looks like and what a sick or unhealthy gut looks like. If you look at the figure on the left, a healthy gut or normal gut microbiome would consist of bifidobacteria and lactobacilli with relatively low numbers of pathogens. And this is called eubiosis. So it's when there's a balance between the microorganisms in the GI tract and the benefits to the host, and it's typically associated with a more diverse microbiome pattern. If you look at the figure on the right, we see that There's very few lactobacilli and bifidobacteria, which are healthy for us. And we tend to have a lot of pathogens that kind of take over the gut microbiome, like Candida, Streptococcus, E. coli, and Staphylococcus. So this is called dysbiosis. It's when there's an imbalance in the microbiome where the harmful bacteria simply crowd out the good bacteria. This is caused by diet, infections, and antibiotics. There are many diseases associated with dysbiosis. For example, if we look at the right side, we've got cardiovascular disease, prediabetes, and insulin resistance. It is definitely a driver of low-grade inflammation, eczema and allergies. Obesity is related to dysbiosis. Certain GI conditions like IBD and colitis, colon cancer is even linked to the microbiome, liver disease, and then we see a slew of conditions that are associated with the microbiome crosstalk to the brain, including appetite disorders, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's disease, MS, anxiety, depression, autism, stress, addiction. So the gut microbiome contributes to so many different factors related to our overall health. That's why it's important that we change a dysbiotic microbiome to one of eubiotic or healthy. How do we know if we have a good or bad microbiome? And is there really such a thing? This is a nice slide. So if you look at the cell in the center, the blue cell, the big one, so this would be a healthy or beneficial bacteria. And what is important is there's actually two roles associated with this healthy or beneficial microbe. It has control and it kind of senses what's going on around them in its own environment within the gut. But then it also helps protect the host with certain metabolites or harm in case of dysbiosis. So when you have a beneficial microbe, it's involved in quorum sensing, so it can sense some of the pathogenic bacteria that may be nearby, and that allows it to release certain antimicrobial compounds, especially hydrogen peroxide and lactic acid, which we'll talk about later, because we can get lactic acid through fermented foods. This beneficial microbe also produces things like neurotransmitters, vitamins, and short chain fatty acids, which are beneficial to us to help maintain the integrity of our epithelium, which are the cells that line our GI tract. Those have a huge function also in protecting our body from infection and pathogens and toxins. It helps preserve our immune cells and plays a role in our enteric neurons. So these are the neurons that help manage digestion and absorption. So what are the symptoms of a bad microbiome? Of course, there's issues with the gut, gas, bloating, constipation, poor digestion, pain. We have issues with our skin like acne and dermatitis, rosacea. We get rashes. We have sleep issues, which contributes to fatigue, high stress, migraines, autoimmune conditions like lupus and rheumatoid arthritis, also thyroid issues. We tend to have sugar cravings when we have a bad or dysbiotic microbiome, and also lack of appetite control and a high frequency of developing infections and illnesses. So you may be thinking, oh my goodness, I can check 10 of those things. I have acne, I have fatigue, I don't sleep well, I get gassy, and I get bloating and pain. And well, don't fret, you can reverse a bad microbiome, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. You can take action now by changing your diet. Okay, so to answer the question, do we know if we have a healthy or a bad microbiome? Well, you can go by the symptoms. You can also get your microbiome sequenced, and so you can get a report back and look to see if you have more healthier bugs versus pathogenic bugs. But we truly don't know what a healthy microbiome looks like. Some beneficial bacteria to you may not be beneficial to others, and some bacteria that may be beneficial in certain life conditions to you may turn pathogenic in other life conditions. So a healthy microbiome is linked to multiple conditions that are linked to overall health and well-being. So now we'll delve into the diet. So how does an animal-based or Western diet, so that would be a diet high in processed foods, lots of sugar, meats, processed meats, low in vegetables and fruits and whole grains, low in fiber, added sugars, would be abundant on a Western type of diet. And we'll compare that with a plant-based diet. Of course, it's high in fruits and vegetables and whole grains, so lots of fiber, as well as low-fat dairy and some other leaner proteins that don't always come from animal sources. So plant-based proteins from beans and legumes and peas, for example. So let's talk about the Western diet. The Western diet is typically associated with a high-fat diet. So if you look, the Western diet comprised of red meat, animal products, cheese, fast food, sugar, and low in vegetables and fruit and whole grains. Well, this changes the microbiome over time, so it becomes more pathogenic. Well, when we have pathogenic bacteria, they release signaling bacterial components and metabolites, one of which is LPS. This is one of the terms I wanted you to learn on the outline slide. Lipopolysaccharide, or LPS, is not good. It's not a good metabolite. In fact, it is a toxin to our gut environment. So it is released from the bad bacteria or pathogenic. It degrades this protective mucus layer that lines our intestines. So if you look, we have our cells down here that are lining our intestine, and then this blue kind of fluid layer, that is a mucus layer that is very protective. It protects us from harmful invaders and toxins. Well, when we have LPS, it combined with low short chain fatty acids, which short chain fatty acids are beneficial for us, then that causes a compromise of this mucus layer. And then when it's compromised, those pathogens and toxins can cross through the cells of the gut and enter the blood supply. So this dysfunctional intestinal barrier is not good. It increases the susceptibility to infection. It causes downregulation of the immune system. It causes GI issues and eventually chronic disease. So we want to prevent the production of LPS, and a way to do that is change our microbiome makeup to be more beneficial than harmful. This is a slide showing how a high red meat, high fat diet can cause cardiovascular disease. So let's look at this red meat. So red meat contains choline and carnitine, and those compounds, when you ingest them, the microbiome actually converts the choline into something called trimethylamine. This then travels to the liver that converts it to trimethylamine oxide, or TMAO. TMAO is not protective for us. In fact, it is involved in increasing the risk of cardiovascular disease because it promotes aortic plaque formation, inflammation, and allows for cholesterol to be deposited into the arteries that all increase CVD risk. When we ingest dietary fat, so a lot of fats, especially if they're coming from animal sources, it also disrupts the microbiome, produces these bile acids, which interfere with butyrate production. Butyrate is one of those short chain fatty acids that is protective of our gut. And in fact, butyrate is fuel for our cells that line the gut. And I'll talk more about butyrate in a little bit. But when we don't have butyrate, we lose the integrity of the lining of our gut. So therefore, we get compromised gut when we eat animal-based dietary fats. And this is another study that looked at vegetarian diets versus omnivore or animal-based diets, which is the red. Vegetarian is the green. So if you look at the x-axis, the TMAO concentrations at baseline are elevated in the omnivore diet, and over 1 to 2 months remain elevated in, looks like in most cases, double of what the vegetarian type of diet has in regards to TMAO concentrations. So automatically eating more plants is going to be beneficial in regards to reducing your risk for cardiovascular disease and maintaining the short chain fatty acid production, including butyrate. This is another figure showing how the diet influences the intestinal disorders, which is mitigated by the microbiome. So when we have a high in animal protein diet, and that's combined with a low fiber diet, what happens is our gut microbes release things like phenol and hydrogen. This also blocks butyrate production, so we don't have that butyrate that is being used for energy by our cells to maintain the integrity of the gut. And we also have host benefits of butyrate when it goes to the blood. So it's absorbed to the blood. It can go to the peripheral tissues. And I'll talk about the roles later on that butyrate and other short chain fatty acids can have. So we're, with a high animal protein combined with low fiber diet, we have reduced butyrate production. We also have compromised T cell production. So that is going to be involved with chronic inflammation combined with reduced short chain fatty acids, and that leads to certain GI disorders like irritable bowel disease or IBD. So I've told you about some of the not so healthy effects of an animal-based high-fat diet on the microbiome and how it can relate to increased cardiovascular disease risk and increased risk for digestive disorders. But if we look at a Mediterranean diet that is rich in fiber, so we're focusing on plants like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, low-fat dairy, nuts and seeds, beans, legumes, and peas are also on the Mediterranean diet, and extra virgin olive oil is the primary fat source, and avocados are also included in that. So this is a very plant-based type of diet that contains healthy fats and a lot of fiber. When we automatically increase fruits, vegetables, whole grains, then we automatically increase our dietary fiber intake. It has some fish and poultry. It's kind of limited, but it's very limited in red meat, added sugars, and processed foods. When we eat a Mediterranean diet, we have more of a beneficial microbe makeup. So when it breaks down these plant-based compounds, they produce signaling bacteria components and metabolites that are linked to reduced LPS and increased short chain fatty acids. And that is going to promote gut health, right? Because it maintains, without LPS, degrading that mucin lining along with the increased short chain fatty acids, then we have a healthy, thicker mucus lining. So it is not compromised. That reduces the pathogens and toxins that can cross from the gut into the blood. So improved immunity and less inflammation is an outcome, and that promotes overall health. So we see shifts in the microbiome to beneficial Prevotella, Bacteroides, Bifidobacteria, Lactobacillus, and Akkermansia. Akkermansia is one of those microbes that is involved in producing the mucin layer. So it's really important to have Akkermansia because it does help maintain that protective barrier in our gut. So while plants, of course, they're high in fiber, we want to aim for about 30 to 40 grams of fiber per day. If you want to increase fiber in your diet, you want to do it slow, especially if you're consuming a Western diet, just so you can get accustomed to higher levels of dietary fiber coming in. There's also beneficial compounds found in plants that are called non-nutritive type of beneficial compounds like polyphenols and flavonoids. So polyphenols is sort of the umbrella category that are found in fruits, vegetables, beans, herbs, spices, tea, coffee, wine, and dark chocolate. And then flavonoids is sort of a subcategory of polyphenols that are involved in antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. So when people ask, well, how do I get more polyphenols and flavonoids in my diet? You just want to choose a variety of bright and colorful foods, primarily those fruits and vegetables. And then incorporating things like green tea. So every day, instead of, I get tired of drinking water all day. And so instead of doing something like a Crystal Light or a lemonade or some other, flavorful type of beverage, I combine black tea with green tea, and I add ice and I drink that throughout the day. And that's a way to incorporate polyphenols into your diet. So let's talk about how polyphenols improve health via the microbiome. So, polyphenols are broken down by these beneficial microbes like bifidobacteria, Akkermansia, and lactobacillus. These polyphenols actually cause these beneficial microbes to bind to the cell's membrane that inhibits pathogenic bacteria growth. It allows for quorum sensing that we talked about earlier and increased production of antimicrobial agents. There's also benefits of polyphenols to the host, but also what we see with the improvements in these beneficial microbes, improved barrier function, increased anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. Now, what's great is these metabolites from polyphenol breakdown via the microbes, they can be absorbed into the blood and go to the different tissues where there's additional host benefits. For example, immune modulation. It improves endothelial function, which is regulating your blood pressure. Okay, so you can have a reduction in blood pressure with improved endothelial function. We also see improvements in lung function, as well as, you got it, the brain. So improved cognitive function, neuroprotection, increased blood flow to the brain, and that's all going to be healthy and help with reducing that risk for developing chronic diseases. So polyphenols are very important. Fiber is also very important, and we're primarily talking about prebiotic fibers here because remember, not all fibers are prebiotics. So the fiber that you want to ingest is the prebiotic because that is known to be broken down by the beneficial microbes. And here, when we break down fiber, these microbes produce those short chain fatty acids that reduces the pH within the gut and it becomes more acidic, and that actually can kill off some of those pathogens and inhibit their growth because it's just too acidic. They're not used to that environment. Remember, this is a way that the beneficial microbes are kind of controlling their little ecosystem. We also have increased mucus secretion that improves barrier function. But what's another thing that's very interesting is these short chain fatty acids bind to these protein receptors on the cells that line the gut and increase the release of GLP-1 and PYY. So if you have been living under a rock, which you have not been, I'm sure you've heard of GLP-1 agonists that act similarly to GLP-1. They bind to the same receptor, even though the configuration is slightly different than the natural GLP-1 that we produce in our gut. But GLP-1 is involved in improved satiety. It has roles in metabolism and inflammation. So this is known, or prebiotic fibers are also known as nature's Ozempic. It's a natural way to increase these satiety hormones. We also have short chain fatty acids that enter the portal circulation and have other benefits on immunity, improves insulin sensitivity, reduces inflammation, and increases fatty acid oxidation. Many overweight and obese individuals have what's called fatty liver disease, and it's basically a buildup of fat deposits within the liver, and that causes things like insulin resistance, which can lead to diabetes and other conditions. Okay, plants also contain prebiotics. So these are those prebiotics that are fiber, and it's the food for the beneficial gut microbes. When they eat prebiotics, they produce short chain fatty acids and other metabolites that confer a benefit to the host, which would be you. So here are some prebiotics that are found naturally in our foods, but we can also find them in supplements. Galacto-oligosaccharides, xylo and arabino-oligosaccharides, fructo-oligosaccharides, so you can see they're all oligosaccharides, as well as inulin. One thing you need to know about these, though, is they're not well tolerated. And the reason is because they are short in length. So these short prebiotic fibers can be rapidly broken down by the microbes. And during that process, they rapidly produce gas because methane is a byproduct of this fermentation process. So it produces gas, bloating, abdominal pain, and sometimes diarrhea. So if you have a sensitive stomach or irritable bowel syndrome, these probably are not going to be prebiotics that you will be able to tolerate. Now, on the other hand, resistant starches and maltodextrins are well tolerated because they are much longer lengths of prebiotics, and so they are more slowly broken down by the microbes. So they produce the gas, but because it's so slow, it doesn't cause that bloating, that immediate immediate abdominal pain and discomfort. On the next few slides, I'm going to talk about resistant starches as a prebiotic because it is my line of research and it is absolutely my favorite thing to talk about. So I'll probably light up when in these next 3 slides. First, what is resistant starch? Well, it is a component of starch. So starch is housed in a granule in starchy foods like potatoes and corn and beans and legumes. What happens is there might be a little piece of that starch granule that just cannot be broken down by our enzymes. And so that is called resistant starch. So it's the component of starch that is not digested within 2 hours after eating. So it escapes the small intestine, enters the large intestine, and that's where it has its, it can function as a prebiotic. So what's also interesting is because resistant starch essentially has a twofold effect. It acts in the small intestine because if you have more resistant starch, then there's less glucose that's produced because starch is made of 100% glucose. So when less glucose is produced, there's less available to be absorbed to the blood. So it's a way of reducing blood glucose or blood sugar levels. So that happens in the small intestine, and in the large intestine, it functions as a prebiotic. So we need about 15 to 30 grams of resistant starch each day. That's according to hundreds of studies on resistant starch to elicit these metabolic effects. Now, let's talk about the natural sources of resistant starch, right? Because it's found in starchy foods. So look at the top, we've got an unwrapped ripe banana that has 3.5 grams of resistant starch per serving versus 2.7 grams found in ripe bananas. Okay, so we see higher amounts in unripe, and you can kind of tell when you're eating a kind of a green banana, it's not as sweet as the ripe banana because over time, as the fruits ripen, the amount of starch is converted into sugar. And so that also happens with the resistant starch. It starts to be converted into sugar. Our beans and legumes are great sources. Chickpeas at 3.4, black beans, kidney beans have 7 grams per serving. And we're talking about half of a cup. So that's why I really encourage people to eat a bean a day or a legume a day because it really can be beneficial, providing additional fiber and resistant starch. Plus, they're great sources of protein. I'm just a big fan of beans. And lima beans have almost 12 grams of resistant starch per half cup. Now let's look at our potatoes. So mashed has the lowest amount, but a potato salad that is cooked then chilled has 14.3 grams. And here's why. When we mash our potatoes, we're going to take our raw potato, cut it up, and we're going to throw it into some boiling water, right? So we add water and heat. Well, that allows for that starch granule to open up and kind of form like a gel sort of mixture. Well, that gel allows for the enzymes to come in and digest it fully. But when we bake a potato, then we're not adding that water element. So some of that resistant starch is going to be maintained in the potato. When we produce or make potato salad, we boil the potato. So again, water, heat, we form that gel. But then when we chill it, the chilling process causes some of that starch to turn into resistant starch. It's the way it's repacked within that granule. So cooking then chilling foods is a way to increase resistant starch. And we see this with the overnight oats, almost double the amount of cooked, and then white rice versus stir-fried rice, because traditional stir frying, we're going to cook the rice, we chill it, and then we stir fry it. So that increases the resistant starch during the chilling process, but then we add that fat as a coating, so that allows for more resistant starch to be produced within the rice. Okay, so this is a kind of complex slide, but I'm going to go through it really fast. It's just how resistant starch works through the gut and then to the host. So certain bacteria break down resistant starch, and those products are the short chain fatty acids as well as some other digestible products. Those bind to certain cells, and we kind of talked about this previously, that naturally increase GLP-1, PYY, and then those short-chain fatty acids can also cross into the blood supply and help regulate cholesterol, inflammation, food intake, also insulin and glucose metabolism. It promotes fat oxidation, so the breakdown of fat, and improves insulin sensitivity. We published a paper a few years ago, and what we did, we wanted to see, okay, well, how much resistant starch are Americans get each day in their diet? And we found there's about 2 grams per 1,000 calories. So if you're eating about a 2,000 calorie diet, you're going to get about 4 grams of resistant starch per day. And unfortunately, French fries and other fried potatoes was the main contributor. We have some work to do. But we know that it can be challenging to obtain that 15 to 30 grams per day, which is recommended from dietary sources. It is possible. And in fact, we did a pilot study where we developed recipes that were high in resistant starch, and it had to be very intentional. So each day provided about 30 grams of resistant starch. So a lot of potato salad, a lot of lima beans, a lot of other beans, kidney beans, navy beans, a lot of plantains. Actually, plantains have a lot of resistant starch compared to bananas. So we had to be very purposeful. It was a 1-week dietary plan, and we made all the food in our metabolic kitchen. And so it was breakfast, lunch, a snack, and a dinner. And the subjects were adults with prediabetes. And what we found, they weren't able to finish all of the food. They were so full that they often could only eat a portion of the meal, and then they just got too full. So resistant starch does have a satiating effect. There's probably an effect of fiber in there as well that promotes satiety. What we do know too is that those individuals had improvements in glucose and insulin regulation. We know within just a week of eating adequate resistant starch from foods, it can confer metabolic benefits that are quite quick to show up in the blood. Now, if you're thinking, oh, well, it's going to be really challenging for me to get a lot of resistant starch from foods, there are so many supplements that are prebiotics. For example, Benefiber is a wheat dextrin. Here's an inulin FOS. Remember, that's not well tolerated. This is my prebiotic Renutrin that has resistant starch as the prebiotic. The Thorn has a gargum and rice bran, and then there's a chicory root that also is not well tolerated. So there's so many out there. You really have to read the labels and see what can you tolerate. And if you want to add these supplements to your diet and you may have a sensitive stomach, start with a quarter of a serving. Start with a quarter, do that for about a week, then add about half of a serving, do that for about a week. So you're slowly ramping up your intake to the full serving size. Fermented foods can be a great source of lactic acid in the gut. Lactic acid is produced by our healthy microbes, and it helps to crowd out and sort of kill the pathogenic microbes. So we know that eating a high fermented food diet like kimchi, yogurt, kefir, kombucha, sauerkraut, pickles, miso can increase the diversity of the microbiome and also has a role in inflammation. There are other lifestyle factors that impact the microbiome, one of which is antibiotics. So this was a study that was done in children, and you can look at their ages, range from 6 months to about 12 years. They consumed antibiotics for there was either a single dose or just a few days, and every single dosage, it didn't matter if it was 1 day or 10 days, they all decreased the diversity of the microbiome. So this could be especially problematic with kids. I think physicians are finally learning that every time you have a sniffle, you're not to not prescribe antibiotics, but I'm sure it's still out there. This is a study done by Dr. Ajami, and this is looking at sleep and how sleep duration can impact the microbiome. So we have short sleepers that were sleeping about 4.5 hours versus those sleeping about 7 hours each day. And we had differences in Pseudarella, so lower amounts in our short sleepers, and that is linked to psychiatric conditions. Pseudomonas was slightly higher, not a lot, but that is a pathogenic microbe and can disrupt the protective lining of the gut and also contribute to respiratory infections. So, adequate sleep is key, just like exercise. So, we know that people who exercise regularly and athletes have a more diverse microbiome and also higher levels of short chain fatty acids. There's also some evidence that people who weight train also have better microbes. So, what can you do now to maximize your microbiome health? Change your diet to a plant-based diet, and a one that I recommend and has been ranked for many years by US News and World Report as being the best diet, and that's the Mediterranean diet. It provides both fiber, polyphenols, so all of those great compounds that the good microbes love to eat. So we want to eat fruits, veggies, whole grains, EVOO, avocados at every meal. You want to eat some beans, nuts, legumes, and also fatty fish, at least 3 servings a week. You want to limit to 1 serving a day of poultry, eggs, or low fat dairy, and then really limiting that red meat, sweet intake, added sugars to 1 serving per week or even less. Okay, so that brings me to number 2, eat less red meat. Also adding 1 to 2 servings of fermented food. That's that kimchi, kefir. You can do that each day, and that is going to be beneficial for your gut. You can add a prebiotic fiber. As always, I recommend food first, but if you want to add a supplement, there are plenty out there to choose from. Avoiding antibiotics, being active, getting enough sleep, and also if you're still expanding your family, breastfeeding. I know there are many challenges associated with breastfeeding, but if you can just feed your baby breast milk at least some duration during infancy, it is going to have lasting effects on the infant's gut health as well as its immunity. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to any questions or comments you may have on this video. And I was so excited to share this information on diet and gut health, and I hope it was helpful to you.